The Congress of the United States has caused this monument to be erected on the site of the Battle of Cowpens as a testimony to the valor and in appreciation of the services of the American troops on this field in behalf of the independence of their country. We are on the battlefield trail, and we just left the visitor center. Let's find out a little bit of history, shall we? I can't talk today. Morgan's Flying Army. Morgan's army came from many states: the two Carolinas, Delaware, Georgia, Maryland, and Virginia. They were joined by the militia, some of whom had helped destroy the British Army of Loyalist Americans under Ferguson at Kings Mountain. They camped nearby without tents and nervously awaited the dawn. So if y'all haven't seen my Kings Mountain battlefield video, go on and watch that one. It's kind of backwards, but it's still good. Spirit up the people. Morgan chose this ground for its tactical advantages: a river to the rear to discourage the ranks from breaking, rising ground on which to post his regulars, an open forest, and marsh on one side to thwart flanking maneuvers. Sir, you are appointed to the command of a corps of light infantry, a detachment of militia, and Lieutenant Colonel Washington's regiment of light dragoons. The object of this detachment is to give protection to that part of the country and spirit up the people. I entrust you with this command, being persuaded you will do everything in your power to distress the enemy and afford protection to the country. Order to Daniel Morgan from General Nathaniel Greene, December 16, 1780. The cavalry, dragoons at Cowpens. The open forest proved well suited for cavalry action. Fast-moving, hard-hitting mounted troops called light dragoons bolstered the 18th century infantry. At least 70 South Carolina and Georgia mounted militiamen armed with pistols and sabers, issued for the use in this campaign, augmented the veteran 80-plus man American dragoons of Lieutenant Colonel William Washington, posted in a swale nearby. They were hidden from the British. Washington Light Infantry Monument. The Washington Light Infantry of Charleston, South Carolina, erected this monument in 1856 near the final stages of the Battle of Cowpens to commemorate the important American victory here. Though the years have changed much of the monument's original appearance, it stands today as the earliest testament to the valor of the Patriot Army at the Cowpens. Stand in a Revolutionary soldier's footprints. There we go. The Continental Army at Cowpens. This line consisted of Continentals from Maryland and Delaware, as well as militia from Virginia and North Carolina. The seasoned veterans under Lieutenant Colonel John Eager Howard of Maryland, they had served at least 1 year and were Morgan's most reliable troops. Many served for the duration of the war. They were trained, paid, and uniformed by the Continental Congress. Let them get within killing distance. The American second line of defense stood in position here. About sunrise, the British appeared. The militia, though not trained to stand against the massed British bayonets, fought well and shot with deadly effect. At first, it was pop, 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 the sound of rifles, and then the whole volley. It seemed like one sheet of flame from right to left. Thomas Young, militiaman, Fair Forest Regiment, 17 years old. Sharpshooters at the skirmish line. The sharpshooters at the skirmish line waited until Tarleton's army got within shooting distance. Their orders were to slow Tarleton's advance with well-aimed rifle fire. Daisy thinks that's a real person. Their orders were to slow Tarleton's advance with well-aimed rifle fire and then fall back to the militia's second line. As the British came within range, the militia delivered a deadly fire, dropping 2/3 of the officers, then funneled back through the Continental line. So if you can see that, I'm walking where the blue people are. I guess that's the Morgan's camp. Landscape restoration project. In 1781, this field was a grassy meadow dotted with tall hardwoods, native grasses, and cane. Today, the land is being restored to its appearance at the time of the battle. Well, that's cool. Here's the field. Daisy's having a good walk. Finally got me out of the car, Mom. Oops. Sword clash on Green River Road. Nearby, retreating British officers of the 17th Light Dragoons clashed with pursuing American horsemen led by Lieutenant Colonel William Washington. He quickly outpaced his troops, broke his weapon at the hilt when he got into a sword fight with a British officer. According to legend, Washington's young servant rode up just in time, saving his life by shooting the attacking British officer. It is this account that probably inspired the artist William Rainey in 1845 to paint this vigorous battle scene. Washington and Tarleton raise their swords in the center while Washington's servant boy levels his pistol at a dragoon officer. The British Army. British Commander Lieutenant Colonel Bannister Tarleton ordered a detachment of cavalry forward to scatter the American skirmishers. The green uniformed British Legion, Americans loyal to the King, awaited the order to advance. Imagine this is a battleground, Daisy. Imagine people are fighting out here for our independence. The Robert Scruggs house. Robert Scruggs married Catherine Connell, and in 1828 his father, Richard Scruggs, gave them 200 acres of land. They had 11 children and added on to the house as the family grew. Life at the time was hard. Yeoman farmers raised corn, wheat, potatoes, and livestock, while their wives tended to household tasks such as spinning wool into yarn, rendering animal fat into soap, and maintaining a vegetable garden. It's pretty here. Wow, what a nice setting for a home. 1800s farmhouse. And I'm assuming that where I'm at right now, walking this way, is where the British were. Form the line of battle. Today, Tarleton's force would be called a Combined Arms Task Force. There, I got it out this time. It contained all the elements to conduct a quick movement and engage an enemy. Ranks of red-coated fusiliers, regulars, and raw recruits of the 7th Regiment formed in this immediate area. Wetlands impeded the maneuvers of the 7th, and Tarleton initiated the battle before they were completely deployed. Looks like they're doing a lot of restoration out here. Forestry restoration. It's really pretty. Daisy's having a good walk. So am I. Skirmishers retreat. British advance. After firing as ordered, the American skirmishers melted back to the second line of defense. Seeing this, the British troops moved forward at quick step, raising a great shout as they advanced. That is I think that's a very old tree, mature tree. Look how big it is. I think that's an oak. It's a beautiful walk. What you sniffing? What you sniffing, huh? It smells really good out here today. Like some kind of flower. Not sure what it is, but it smells really good. A race for the grasshopper. Near the end of the battle, as the Americans swept forward, 2 Continental officers sought to capture the enemy's light 3-pounder grasshopper cannons. Captain Anderson of Maryland won the race when he used his spontoon to vault forward onto one of the grasshoppers. Captain Kirkwood of Delaware captured the other. Okay, so that's a spontoon. She sees a squirrel. She sees it. She's about to take off. She's gonna jerk this phone out of my hand. Yep. Ooh, ooh. I know, baby. No, nope, nope, nope. We're not chasing squirrels right now. Come on. Colonel Howard's misunderstood order. After firing twice, the militia retreated behind the Continentals who were awaiting the British advance in this area. British reinforcements, Fraser's 71st Highlanders, threatened the Continentals' right flank. Lieutenant Colonel Howard ordered his right flank to turn to face them. His center and left flank misunderstood and began an orderly retreat. Sensing victory, the British broke ranks and surged forward. Morgan ordered the Continentals to face about and fire at close range. Raw recruits of the British 7th Regiment panicked and fell back. The Highlanders, still coming on like a mob, were repulsed. The stage was set for entrapment, annihilation, and an American victory. Double envelopment. On this field, the Continentals blunted the British advance, then charged with bayonets flashing. Cavalry hit the left and right of the 71st. The militia reformed and surged against the right and left. British troops found themselves overwhelmed and surrounded. Morgan had executed a double envelopment. In less than an hour, the crucial battle of Cowpens had been decided. The classic use of military tactic of double envelopment took place at the Battle of Cannae in southern Italy in 216 BC. There, soldiers under the command of Hannibal surrounded and crushed a much larger, superior Roman army. I'm not sure that's how you pronounce that. City or battlefield. C-A-N-N-A-E. Cannae? I don't know. Double envelopment, Daisy. A military tactic. And we're kind of made a little circle here, and we're back at the monument, Washington Light Infantry Monument. I'm going this way. Let's go. Race to the Dan River. General Morgan's army secured a great victory on the field before you. from here, the army moved into North Carolina, where he dismissed the militia. The remainder of the army hurried to the Dan River in Virginia before the British could overtake and recapture the prisoners. Our loss was inconsiderable, not having more than 12 killed and 60 wounded. The enemy's loss was 10 commissioned officers and over 100 rank and file killed and 200 wounded, 29 commissioned officers and about 500 privates, prisoners which fell into our hands with 2 pieces of artillery, 2 standards, 800 muskets, 1 traveling forge, 35 baggage wagons, 70 people of color, and upwards of 100 dragoon horses with all their music, M-U-S-I-C-K, music? What is that? I'll have to look that up. General Morgan to General Greene, January 19th, 1781, report on the Battle of Cowpens. We are almost at the end of our little history tour of the Battle of Cowpens. It's a gorgeous day. The wind is blowing. The leaves are changing a little bit later this year than last year. Last year at this time, we had brilliant colors, and I think because maybe the heat this year and the summer lasted a little bit longer than usual, maybe, that the colors are changing slower. I think I read that somewhere. But anyway, they're starting to change and they're really pretty. So you can just almost see. Right, there's the visitor center. So time for a drink of water. I probably mentioned this before in my Kings Mountain battlefield video, that a lot of the militiamen, the fighters, were Scots. And they fought on both sides. There were the loyalists to the crown, and there were the patriots that were fighting for American freedom. A lot of times brothers fighting against brothers, and cousins, uncles, not on the same side, so that had to have been really difficult. The Battle of Cowpens, prelude to victory. On this field, on January 17, 1781, Daniel Morgan led his army to a brilliant victory over Banastre Tarleton's force of British regulars. One of only a few successful double envelopments in history, this battle is recognized by historians as one of the most important of the American Revolution.